A myth claims that after siding with this god in an argument, Tiresias was blinded, and this god compensated for it by giving him longer life. Another myth claims that this figure was dangled by a rope in his youth in order to avoid being seen by his father, who ruled the sky, earth, and seas, and this god gave Tros horses as compensation for abducting Ganymede so he could be cupbearer at Mount Olympus. He once turned into a white bull in order to kidnap Europa. This god killed his father after forcing him to regurgitate his siblings. For 10 points, name this Greek god the son of Rhea and Cronus and the king of the gods, who is often shown hurling thunderbolts. And the answer is Zeus. When both Hermes and Apollo fell in love with a woman, that woman claimed she was prettier than this Greek goddess, and was then shot by this goddess with an arrow. That woman was Chione. When Agamemnon's ships were unable to depart to Troy at the start of the Trojan War because this goddess was upset with him, he was advised to sacrifice his daughter Iphigenia to her. And because King Oeneus forgot to pray to this goddess, the Caledonian boar was sent to destroy his kingdom. This daughter of Leto turned Actaeon into a deer because he had seen her naked, and this goddess asked Zeus to allow her to remain a virgin. For 10 points, name this Greek goddess, the twin sister of Apollo and goddess of the hunt. And the answer is Artemis. When this god was challenged to drink a cup in 3 draughts, he was unable to do so because he found out that he was drinking the sea itself. After one man breaks the bone of one of this god's goats, this god takes that man as his servant. After this deity received a glove from the giantess Grid, he used it to throw a piece of hot iron through a pillar in order to kill Gerid. Loki had to ask dwarves to make new hair for this man's wife Sif after cutting it off, and those dwarves also made this god's famous iron weapon. For 10 points, name this wielder of the hammer Mjolnir, the Norse god of thunder. And the answer is Thor. Marduk owned 4 of these animals whose mouths were coated in poison. Wainamoinen used a pike and parts of this kind of animal to build the first Kantele, and Loki distracted one of these animals during the building of Asgard's walls. Zeus gave these animals to Tros to compensate for the abduction of Ganymede, and Amaterasu hid in a cave after Susanoo threw one of these animals' head into her hall. Achilles had a talking pair of these animals, and Heracles' 8th labor targeted 2 man-eating ones owned by the Thracian king Diomedes. Sleipnir was an 8-legged example of, for 10 points, what animals that often pull chariots. And the answer is horses. During a quest for this item, a god's burning eyes and voracious appetite are explained as a result of not having slept or eaten for 8 days. The Finnish god Ukko has an item analogous to this one that's called Ukon Vasara. This item is used daily to revive a pair of animals whose names translate as Teeth Grinder and Teeth Bearer. A gadfly bit Brokkr on the eye while he was making this object in a contest against the sons of Vivaldi, so its handle is too short. This object was once stolen by the giant Thrimmer, and a special belt and pair of gloves are required to wield this weapon. For 10 points, name this hammer wielded by Thor. And the answer is Mjolnir. This deity fathered Thrall, Karl, and Jarl, who would, respectively, become ancestors of the serfs, farmers, and noblemen of Scandinavia. This god stole Freya's necklace back from Loki, and he came up with the plan to have Thor dress up as Freya in order to trick Thrym. This god can hear the grass grow and has golden teeth, and he will kill and be killed by Loki during Ragnarok. For 10 points, name this Norse god, the son of 9 mothers, who owns the Gjallarhorn and watches over the Rainbow Bridge, Bifrost. And the answer is Heimdall. Either side of this object is engraved with phrases, take me up and cast me away. Accolon uses this item against its owner, who fights back with a copy of it. Its companion piece prevents death from blood loss. A hand reaches out of a pool of water to catch this object when it is discarded. It replaces another object destroyed by Pelennor. After a battle at Comlan, its owner ordered Bedivere to dispose of it. This weapon was first gifted alongside its magic scabbard by Nimue, or the Lady of the Lake. For 10 points, name this powerful sword used against Mordred following the breaking of the sword in the stone wielded by King Arthur. And the answer is Excalibur. This figure lends his name to a festival in which a wooden statue was dressed as a bride to honor the marriage of Zeus and Hera. This figure hid in Kamikos under the care of King Kokolus, where he killed his former employer by pouring hot water on him during a bath. A scar resembling a partridge appeared on his shoulder after he tried to kill his nephew and rival, Perdix. He threaded a string through a conch with an ant and some honey. He built a wooden bowl for Pasiphae before being trapped in a tower by Minos after designing the labyrinth. For 10 points, name this inventor who used wax to make wings with which Icarus flew too close to the sun. And the answer is Daedalus. This figure could perform the salmon leap and warp spasm. 3 magic spears killed this figure's charioteer, his horse, Liath Macha, and him. This hero heard the good half of a prophecy stating anyone who took arms that day would become famous from Cathbad. He is sometimes considered an incarnation of the light god Lu. This hero chose to eat dog meat rather than be inhospitable, breaking a taboo. He rejects the advances of a disguised Morrigan. As a child, this hero kills a dog with a hurling ball and acts as a guard dog in its stead. This man fought against the army of Queen Maeve during a cattle raid. For 10 points, name this Hound of Ulster. And the answer is Cu Chulainn. In one story, this figure captures a fairy by baiting her with a doll filled with paste. In another account of that story, this figure accidentally murders a rain-bringing dwarf by hitting him too hard. This figure ties a string to each of his limbs to know when his neighbor's meals are done cooking. This figure attempts to hide all the world's wisdom in a calabash gourd, whereupon he is foiled by his son, Tukuma. He makes a deal with his father, the sky god Nyame, to bring back a python, a leopard, and a swarm of hornets in exchange for being the god of stories. For 10 points, name this 8-legged Akan trickster deity whose name means spider. And the answer is Kwaku Anansi.